وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهديه واقتدى بسنته إلى يوم الدين، وبعد. فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله لا يستحيي أن يضرب مثلا ما بعوضة فما فوقها فأما الذين آمنوا فيعلمون أنه الحق من ربهم وأما الذين كفروا فيقولون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا يضل به كثيرا ويهدي به كثيرا وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين. وقال النبي صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم: إن الله يرفع بهذا الكتاب أقواما ويضع به آخرين. صدق الله العظيم. Honorable scholars, respected brothers, elders, mothers, sisters, and our young learners and the young hafizah that will be graduating today. Surely it is the connection with the Quran Kareem that brings honor, respect and glory to an individual. And when a person disregards and dishonors the Quran, then that is the result and the recipe of destruction. The hadith that I quoted, the Messenger ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْفَعُ بِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ أَقْوَامًا. By virtue of this Quran, Allah will honor and raise and elevate people. Probably if we look back into the life of the young Sumayya that will be graduating today, and hopefully inshallah she is a motivation and an incentive for many of our other young girls as well to endeavor to commit the Quran to memory, then you would take her as an average child, as a common child with the usual things that would, involve any other young learner or child. But this is the time where the differentiation comes about, and this is the time where the honor comes out. وَمَا كُنْتَ تَرْجُو أَن يُلْقَى إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابُ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً مِّن رَبِّكَ. O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it is the sheer mercy of Allah that He has endowed you with the Quran and He has endowed you with prophethood. Uwaiqis Makhzumi was a person, it's mentioned in Nafhatul Arab, from a simple background, from a humble family, with not much of fame, recognition or social standing. So one day he said to his mom, Mom, I really don't have what it takes to impress my peers. I don't really have what it takes to get the attention and to get the recognition of people. How can I rise beyond all these negative perceptions that people have about me? We live in a world where much is said about beauty. We live in a world where much is said about wealth. We live in a world where people celebrate, revere and honor all these type of accolades. So his mother sat him down and he said, عَلَيْكَ بِالدِّينِ عَلَيْكَ بِالدِّينِ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْفَعُ بِهِ الْخَسِيسَ وَيُتِمُّ بِهِ النَّقِيسَ. Listen, my young boy, mother addressing the child, embrace faith and religion and commit yourself to Quran, commit yourself to Deen. By virtue of that, Allah will perfect the defected and Allah will honor the humble. And the young boy Uwaiqis Makhzumi said, the words of my mom hit hard at me. It penetrated my heart. And I said, wow, this is profound. Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi said, رَأَيْتُ الْعِلْمَ صَاحِبُهُ كَرِيمٌ وَلَوْ وَلَدَتْهُ آبَاءٌ لِآمُ. I have repeatedly seen that those who commit themselves diligently, passionately to the sciences of Deen, Allah gives them honor, respect in this world, even if they don't come from very influential homes or impressive backgrounds. And that is the beauty of Deen. It is open to one and all, whoever, whenever, however. Someone asked Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, what is greater? Let me complete this incident and I'll come to this point here. So Uwaiqis Makhzumi said, I took the words of my mom to heart and I started studying Deen. فَوُلِّيتُ الْقَضَى. Allah brought that day that I became the official judge of Makkah Mukarramah. I became the official judge of Makkah Mukarramah. I couldn't fathom, comprehend, or even my dreams would not run to that level. And really, I just had a quick word with the Abba, and I'm so happy to be part of this event here in the school year, and to see the great endeavors that are taking place. May Allah bless Appa and competent staff that is here, and all the dedicated well-wishers and studious students that are studying at this institution, and may it go from strength to strength. It is important that we enhance, empower ourselves both with academic skills, and importantly fortify and insulate ourselves with Islamic ethos and values. Salma radiyallahu anha, the spouse of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كانت من القليلات النادرات التي يكتبن في الجاهلية. She was amongst the most literate and educated women in the pre-Islamic era. Her contribution in Islamic jurisprudence is one of the richest found in the annals of history. Aisha radiallahu anha's name is synonymous to knowledge. And we know, وَاشْتَكَلَ عَلَيْنَا أَصْحَابُ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ شَيْئًا إِلَّا سَأَلْنَا عَائِشَةَ. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari said, whenever we face complexity and difficulty in resolving any hadith and we found apparent contradiction, we would knock the door of Aisha radiallahu anha. But someone who's spoken about less in the field of knowledge and is a woman of great stature was Salma radiallahu anha. And you need to know, and I just seized the opportunity to remind you, it was the occasion of Hudaybiyah. The hadith is in Bukhari, when the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam embarked on the journey of Umrah, and the infidels had denied him access into Makkah, and then he was halted and much negotiations took place, and not to any avail for the moment. And amongst those that came to negotiate was Urwa ibn Mas'ud. And this is the impression our school needs to create. And this is the impression as Muslims we need to create. Here comes an envoy, here comes a non-Muslim, hostile for the moment, but subsequently becomes a devout Muslim. And he comes to negotiate. But during the process of negotiation, he rotates his gaze. And he looks at discipline, and he looks at behavior, and he looks at respect, and he looks at mannerism. And he says, wait man, these people are amazing. These people are amazing. And honestly speaking, as Muslims, today in the world there is a vacuum. It's just devoid. I mean, I travel often and I always run my thoughts, and I say this in many of my humble talks, that every time I travel and I get exposure to opposite cultures, it reminds me on the richness of my teachings. When I see people eating with the left hand, I appreciate the teachings of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to eat with my right hand. When I see people riveted to a screen on a long haul of 14 hours, and they cannot shift their gaze and they're munching away, that's the time I realize that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told me to eat as a humble person. So these are great etiquettes of our deen, and that is the magnetic attraction. I often say that we don't have to put a glitter onto deen, we don't have to put a glow onto deen, it has its natural glow and attraction. We have to remove the blemish and the scar that we have put, and this deen has its own attraction. It would just bring people. Tufail ibn Amr Dawsi radiallahu anhu said, when I came to Mecca, people had poisoned me against Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so much, حَتَّى حَشَوْتُ فِي أُذُنِي قُطْنًا, that I stuffed cotton wool in my ears. And I said, even perchance I don't want to hear what the man says. And I passed by the gathering where Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was reciting Quran. And honestly, the vocabulary of no language can aptly, succinctly capture that image of that golden era of Nabuwwat, the precincts of the Kaaba, the galaxy of Sahaba, the paragon of Allah's creation, the early hours of the morning, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciting Quran. What a moment! And I passed by and it penetrated my heart, and I said, I want to accept Islam. Dhimad was a physician. When he came to Makkah, people said, listen, keep away from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's a man of evil character and evil values, Allah forbid. These were the kind of indoctrination. And we're living in volatile times, my young sister. You are in a relatively safe environment in the school, and may Allah bless your guardians and your custodians and your well-wishers that pamper you, that mold you, that shape you, that influence you, so that you can come out with the necessary skill. But outside there, it's a cruel world, it's a vicious world. Allah speaks about a verse in the Quran that the different ploys that people had instituted through the passage of time to take people away from the deen, amongst these ploys were وَقَالَتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ آمِنُوا بِالَّذِي أُنزِلَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَجْهَ النَّهَارِ وَاكْفُرُوا آخِرَهُ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. That some of the people said, the non-Muslims, let's do this here. Let's revert to Islam. We're not Muslims, let's become Muslims. And we are prominent, we are influential people. When we express our reversion to Islam, it will create a big noise and a big stir amongst the Muslims. And they will say, wow, see who has come on board, this prominent man, this individual. And after a period of time, we abandon Islam and we forsake Islam. In doing so, we will create weakness in the ranks of the Muslims. They will think if such a prominent man came into Islam and then he left Islam, definitely he was exposed to some shortfall, some deficiency, some weakness. So by virtue of this, we can create weakness in their foundation. We can shake their foundation. And really today, we know social media and the cyber world, and no person can be, totally protected. I often quote this quotation, we are a world and a nation blessed and cursed by our innovation. We are blessed and cursed. Our glory and our failure is intrinsic. It's not extrinsic. It's intertwined. It's interconnected. So as much as we communicate and it's easy to chat and converse and be on a group and motivate, but at the same time the exposure to evil, the challenges to evil are so many. So these are the kind of challenges that we face. So anyway, Rimad subsequently becomes, radiyallahu anhu, was a physician. He came to Makkah, people indoctrinated him. And they said, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a bad person. And the only way we can undo the stereo, this negativity, is expose people to the beauty of Islam. And really, my young girl, you need to be proud of your identity as a Muslim. You need to respectfully be assertive of your values as a Muslim. You suffer not a complex of inferiority. So look at this incident of the Quran. To complete the incident of Rimad, he comes to the Prophet ﷺ. He says, I've treated many people, can I treat you? The Messenger says him calm, composed, calculated, methodical. He doesn't become impulsive, he doesn't retort, he doesn't say anything obscene or unpleasant. Very reserved and restrained. He said, are you done, Rimad? He said, yes, I'm done. Alhamdulillahi ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astaghfiruh. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. This is a common khutbah, I read it, you hear it. But we are not the masters of the Arabic language. When Rimad heard this, he said, لَقَدْ جَمَعْنَا قَامُوسَ الْبَحْرِ. I've never heard Arabic of this caliber in my life. When I heard this Arabic from you, I'm convinced I'm the patient and you the doctor. I am the patient and you the doctor. Give me your hand, I want to embrace your faith. And instantly he embraces the faith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salma radiallahu anha, that incident I was speaking, what did Urwa ibn Mas'ud Thaqafi, when he came, he's observing, what did he say? Wallahi ma tanakhama nuqamatan illa waqa'at fi kaffi rajulin minhum فَدَلَكَ بِهَا وَجْهَهُ وَجِلْدَهُ وَمَا يُحِدُّونَ إِلَيْهِ النَّبْرَ تَعْظِيمًا لَهُ. Listen folks, before I tell you, he reports back to his people, before I tell you about my negotiations, I must tell you these people are a very disciplined nation. A Muslim, by his very definition, by his very make-up, by his demeanor, by his passion and inclination, he is a very disciplined individual. He starts his day at the flush of dawn, at the crack of dawn. Allahumma barik li ummati fi bukuriha. Something that has paralyzed the youth of today is sleeping late and there's no early start. There's no place like that in the life of a believer. The Messenger ﷺ said, La samurata ba'da al-isha. Don't have gossip, don't chit-chat, don't have gatherings after Isha. Sleep early, rise early. Sleep early, rise early. I think this is so imperative in today's world, where each young boy or girl would sit for hours and hours on social media and chat and just speak away and just kill time and it means absolutely nothing to us. Hassan Basri said, I met the Sahaba. If I have to sum up the Sahaba in one word, كَانَ أَحَدُهُمْ أَشَحَّ عَلَىٰ عُمْرِهِ مِنْهُ عَلَىٰ دِرْهَمِهِ. They were a nation more possessive over time than money. When it came to money, they were casually, I take it, it's fine. Time, sorry, you're not going to get a moment from me. I've got a fixed schedule. Our situation is the direct opposite. Time, the night is young. It's Saturday, chill, relax. What's the rush? What's the panic? Relax, it's yours. It's a young day, it's a young night. And when it comes to money, our fist is tight. When it comes to money, our fist is tight. But when it came to Sahaba, they were more casual, they were easy, they could spend money. A person came to the Messenger ﷺ and asked for some money. Nabi ﷺ said, go to Sayyidina Uthman. As he arrived at the door of Sayyidina Uthman, he overheard Uthman radiallahu anhu having a word with his spouse and says, don't use too much oil in the lantern. Don't abuse oil. Be cautious, be calculated, circumspect. So he thinks for a moment, the Messenger ﷺ has directed me to this man while he's busy monitoring the amount of oil he's using in his lantern. Is he the person I need to really go to? Nonetheless, he takes the opportunity and he knocks on the door. He's ushered into the house. He says, I'm the envoy and I've been sent by the Messenger ﷺ. Sayyidina Uthman welcomes him and says, whatever your request is, I will double it. So the man is perplexed. He's pleasantly surprised. He cannot reconcile. There's a dichotomy here. How do we reconcile? One side you budgeting on oil, on the other hand you're giving me beyond my request. He said, where the Nabi of Allah told us to withhold, we don't spend. And where he told us to spend, we don't withhold. من أحب لله وأبغض لله وأعطى لله ومنع لله فقد استكمل الإيمان. The Messenger ﷺ said, who's the true believer? 4 things, my young girl. 4 things. You love for Allah. You love for Allah. And don't be in that deception or some young boy coming and dangling a candy before you and coming and offering you some rosy images of life and promising you these things just to sway you. It's a world, unfortunately, where people are driven by lust, where people are driven by other things. But أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ وَخَتَمَ عَلَى سَمْعِهِ وَقَلْبِهِ وَجَعَلَ عَلى بَصَرِهِ غِشَاوَةً فَمَنْ يَهْدِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ اللَّهِ. Have you not seen a person whom Allah causes to go astray because he follows his base desires despite having knowledge? Bal'am ibn Ba'ura was a great scholar in the previous nations. Long story short, his nation tells him to curse Musa alayhi salam. He says, how can I curse Musa alayhi salatu was salam? How can I curse Musa? Musa is the prophet of Allah. Moses is the great prophet of Allah. They give him wealth, they give him bribes, they tempt him, they dangle different things and he falls prey to it. And these are the things that are being decorated around us. They have been put before us to lure us, to seduce us, to drive us, to entice us. And then he's tempted, he's taken the handsome gifts, he's taken the handsome bribes, and now he starts cursing the messenger of Allah. But fate has it, destiny has it, that as he tries to curse Musa alayhi salam, he ends up cursing himself and his own people. So people say, what are you saying? He said, I don't have control over my tongue. I don't have control over my tongue. Coming back to that incident of Salma radiallahu anha, on the occasion of Hudaybiyah, I'm saying the role of a woman. The hadith I quoted, the Messenger said, you love for the pleasure of Allah. You love someone, you love someone. You look at this young girl who's going to complete now, you envy her. You admire her. Why? That this is a young girl in my class, in my school. I am grappling to memorize a phone number. I'm grappling to learn my work. I'm battling to memorize my textbook. And this young girl carries in her bosom the entire Quran. So you look at her envious of the honor that Allah has given her. And that is something that Allah recognizes. We don't look at the glamour and the glitter of this world, but Allah endorses when we envy people whom Allah has blessed. La hasada illa fitnatain. The Messenger ﷺ said, Allah doesn't recognize that you stretch an envious eye to anyone. But 2 people, Allah is fine that you envy them. رَجُلٌ آتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْحِكْمَةِ. A person whom Allah gives Quran, hikmah. وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا وَمَا يَذَّكَّرُ إِلَّا أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Those who've been blessed with hikmah. And one quotation in Madarik al-Tanzil, if I recall, of Muqatil rahimahullah, is of Quran. Hikmah, Quran. The one who's been blessed with hikmah meaning Quran. Or the one who's been blessed with knowledge coupled with action. So the action complements the theory. The sciences are exhibited, manifested, displayed. The one who's blessed with that, the Messenger ﷺ said, you can envy such a person. And the second person is whom Allah has given wealth, but just not wealth. You envy the one whose wealth Allah has accepted for the deen. And even in this world of decline, where people have by and large lost values and morals, and hoarding has become the order of the day, trust me, there are people who have very generous hands. I have seen them, I have met them, I have seen people spending. May Allah bless them and accept, and may Allah give us the ability to envy them. And if this can happen, my sister, by my coming down in this program, and mashallah, the Abba Amina that coordinated this year, and the entire thing that was put together. So by hosting this thing here, if this much can happen, that we change the focus of glorifying and revering people. So till today, it was a celebrity, it was a particular, designer, it was a particular fashion artist, it was a woman with this skill or this ability, whatever it is. From today onwards, my envy has changed now. My envy has changed. My envy is to see a person with character. My envy is to see a person with Quran. Then trust me, this is a step in the right direction. Then our assembling here is accomplished. So Salma radiallahu anha, man ahabba lillah, the one who loves for the pleasure of Allah, wa abghada lillah, and despises for Allah. I don't despise for any other thing. I don't despise someone because of color. I don't despise someone because of creed. I don't despise someone because of religion. Let's have things in principle. Islam tells us to despise disbelief, not the disbeliever. Islam tells us to despise, to have resentment in our hearts, to disbelieve as an act, not the individual. Not the individual. The teachings of the Messenger, Abu Darda radiallahu anhu passes by and people are rebuking and scoffing a person, and he asked them, what's this all about? And they said, he's committed a crime. And Abu Darda said, but that's not the way you deal. He said, but oh Abu Darda, do you realize what he has done? He said, we need to despise the crime and not the individual. We need to separate the two. And I'm reminded of an ayah, and this is the beauty of the Quran, and if my time allows, I just want to share with you some verses of the Quran. Our deen is wholesome. We need to study our deen to appreciate. Often in my travels, I meet with fellow non-Muslims. And every time I meet a fellow non-Muslim who reverted to Islam, or new Muslims, I ask them, can you tell me what motivated you to Islam? And the only reason why I ask them is that, so it makes me appreciate what an outsider can see, which I have taken for granted. People are coming into the fold, valuing the discipline of Islam, and I'm resisting the very discipline. I feel there's too much restrictions, and yet somebody else on the outside said, it's so nice, there's discipline, there's parameters, there's boundaries, there's borders, you know how to behave yourself. So, the verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks in the 19th juz, in Surah Furqan, that the pious are those, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. The pious are those who walk on this earth with humility. That's the first thing. My young sister, the thing that's going to make you different, when you graduate, you pursue your degree, your academic, your Islamic, you are modest. I just got back from Toronto 2 weeks ago, and at the airport at Pearson, there was a brother who had his 4 daughters, and he said, Sheikh, would you have a word with my daughters and just give them some encouragement before I leave? I said, that's fine. And subhanallah, we had checked in and we were about to leave, and this brother, this alim and scholar brought his 4 daughters and elderly. And I was so humbled. Each one of them veiled and screened, covered modestly. 2 out of them are medical doctors and they are qualified alimas. The other 2 young girls have completed the A levels according to the academic levels there in Toronto, North America. And in addition to that, they have committed the Quran to memory, and they have also completed the Qira'at, the Sab'a and Ashra. And then these girls are saying, Sheikh, we attended your discourse yesterday and give us some advice. And I said, advice? I'm learning from you more than I can convey to you. I'm just going to take what you told me, what you've done. I'm so humbled by your accolades and your achievements. And I said, that's the beauty. And he said, we practice in our practice with our modest garb, and we divide our days. So morning it's a surgery, it's a medically, dentist, attending to my patients, etc. and then doing my domestic chores, being an active mum at home, multitasking, and then obviously doing my teaching and my bit as well. So we had an interfaith dialogue at this particular convention, and then I had to, amongst other scholars, address that from the male side, and some of these sisters had addressed that from the female side, one-on-one. You know what? Grew up there, having the best of both, accommodating the academic side, flavored richly with Islamic values. And that's the Quran. When Qarun was boasting with his mind and his wealth and his muscle, his nation said to him 4 things. In Bayan al-Quran it's mentioned that the Quran quotes this as the advice of the nation, but in reality this was the advice of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and then the nation basically just echoed the sentiments of Musa alayhi salam. إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ قَوْمُهُ لَا تَفْرَحْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَرِحِينَ. Listen, you have status, don't be proud. Don't be arrogant. My young girl, don't be arrogant. Allah doesn't love arrogance. Be humble, be respectful, be obliging, be courteous. Respect those above you. Respect your mom, respect your seniors, respect your teachers. Respect. That's key, that's essential, that's pivotal and integral. لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين. وَابْتَغِ فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ. And by virtue of your honor, your status, your recognition, secure an abode in Akhirah. You've got muscle, you've got clout, you've got so much. You can bring happiness. A man in a business. Now look at the opportunities of Islam, and that's the beauty. You don't have to earn paradise in your house. You don't have to earn paradise in a seminary. You don't have to earn paradise exclusively, or it's not reserved to any blessed land. You can earn paradise anywhere. Wherever you serve the deen of Allah, whatever you do good, for you is the reward. So the Quran says, أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِّنْهَا. The 8th juz, the 3rd page, right on the top. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about a person, ambassador of deen, who carries the radiance and the effulgence of deen. He or she walks with that light. Under this, Mufti Shafi Sahib writes in Mariful Quran that Islam is a glow and it's a light. Wherever you walk, you take that light with you. You spread that message. It's contagious by its character. You pass it on to others and they will appreciate the beauty. Man ahabba lillah, you love for Allah. Wa abghada lillah, you despise for Allah. Wa a'ta lillah, you give for Allah. Wa mana'a lillah, you withhold for Allah. Faqad istakmal al-iman, that's the perfection of iman. So the ayah that I was saying, that Islam teaches us, we despise the crime and the offense, and we do not despise or have resentment for the individual. The nation of Qarun said to Qarun that by virtue of your wealth, secure an abode in Akhirah. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. And Islam is not saying shun this world, ignore this world. Huzaifa ibn Yaman, who carried the secret of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لَيْسَ خِيَارُكُمْ الَّذِينَ يَتْرُكُونَ الدُّنْيا لِلْآخِرَةِ وَلَا الَّذِينَ يَتْرُكُونَ الْآخِرَةَ لِلدُّنْيا وَلَكِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْخُذُونَ مِنْ هَذِهِ وَهَذِهِ. He is not from the best amongst you who forsakes the year after to secure this world, nor is he the best amongst you who neglects this world in its entirety to secure the Akhirah. But the best amongst you is he who can strike the fine balance. Who can strike the fine balance. And that's the beauty of deen. Sahaba came and said, Ya Rasulullah, dhahaba ahlul duthur bil ujur. The wealthy amongst us are gone. How? With their wealth. يُصَلُّونَ كَمَا نُصَلِّي وَيَسُومُونَ كَمَا نَسُومُ وَيَتَصَدَّقُونَ بِفُضُولِ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. They observe fast like how we observe, they perform prayer like how we perform, and they give charity. We don't have charity. So the Prophet ﷺ told the poor Sahaba, start reading Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah after every prayer. So they started reading. The wealthy observed this practice and ritual. They went to the Prophet ﷺ, O Prophet of Allah, our brothers are reading something post their salah. What is it? The Prophet ﷺ said, they came to me and they said they don't have wealth, so what can I give them? So I gave them a dua and they reading it. So the wealthy Sahaba said, O Prophet of Allah, give it to us also please, let us read it also. So the wealthy Sahaba started reading it. So the poor Sahaba came back to the Prophet of Allah. Just look at their mind. You know, how was it like you gave him 10 rand and you gave him 20, and then when they meet up, it's like, well, 10 rand is the wrong example. Gone are those days. Gone are those days. Nowadays, you know, you're talking bigger figures and much more, and it's a world of wealth and affluence. That's why I often quote that saying, he's a wealthy man whose children run in his arms even when his hands are empty. He's a wealthy man whose children run in his arms. Dad, I love you because you are my father. How about this, my daughter? I was giving a talk to some young kids in Australia, in Queensland. So I, engaged them, I quizzed them. I said, how many of you kissed your mom today? No, Sheikh. We don't do that. We don't kiss mom. Yeah? Okay, that's fine. Then I engaged a little further and I said, how many of you unfortunately have crossed the gender line and probably kissed across the line? And now there were smirks and blushes and yeah, me, sorry, yes, of course, why not? And I said, do you know the Prophet ﷺ, whenever Fatima radiallahu anha came, he stood up, the hadith of Abu Dawud, and he kissed. How many of us kiss our parents? We've been taught as Muslims to kiss the living and the deceased. It's so warm, it's so loving. Go back and kiss your parents. In fact, I say this in gratitude to Allah. I kiss my parents daily. I kiss my mom's feet daily to the best of my ability. Someone asked Luqman Hakim, people rave about your wisdom. Let me challenge you and quiz you. Produce for me something heavenly on this earth. Give me something from paradise on this earth. He said, I'll give it to you right now. He went to his mom, raised his mom's foot, took the sand beneath her foot and brought it. And he said, if there's anything that can be called divine or heavenly on this earth, it's the sand beneath your mom's foot. He said, I salute your vision. I concur with your wisdom. Absolute nail on the head. When Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu came, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had passed away, and he was gone to Awali, which is the lower end of Medina, and I went there, and his other spouse was living there, because the Prophet of Allah indicated some signs of recovery. And I'm saying to you, my young sister, while I'm talking, for Allah's sake, become those who can read. Today we have minimum to zero knowledge in deen. I often say to my audiences, I would have loved, when I speak on the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, that myself and my audience was on a comment page, and I could make an anecdotal reference, and each person could tap into his or her archives, and open up that page of history, and relate with it, and I make a reference and we move on. But lo and behold, unfortunately, by and large, our knowledge is very limited and shallow when it comes to the paragon of Allah's creation, leave alone the noble companions that have gathered around him. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu comes from Awadi. He walks in, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is covered. He takes the courage, musters the courage to move the cloth. You cannot imagine, your brain freezes how challenging that moment was for Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. But the strength, the composure, he comes close, he moves it. He is feeling the pain the most, but he contains himself the most. The burden that's on his shoulders, Allah had given him that strength. Wallahi laqad nazala bi abi ma law nazala bil jibal ar-rasiyat lahadaha. I deal with youth on a daily basis. If there's something that our youth don't have, it's patience, it's tolerance. Just give it time, give it space, just hang on, it will come. No, instant, it has to happen now. Can you probably begin to imagine the mental capacity of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu? That is why our mother Aisha paid tribute to Abu Bakr, and she said, Wallahi laqad nazala bi abi ma law nazala bil jibal ar-rasiyat lahadaha. Such a colossal and mammoth responsibility fell on the shoulders of my father at the demise of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that if that had to come onto the mountains of the world, even the mountains would have caved in. And then he comes forward, he moves the cloth, and then he kisses Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the forelock. Our deen teaches us to kiss the deceased. Babu taqbili yad ar-rajul as-salih, kissing the hand of a pious person. It's not so common amongst us. Today, unfortunately, like I said, we know all the French kiss, and we know the haram kiss, and we know the illicit kiss. But when it comes to kissing the pious and our parents and the reward associated, it is unknown to us. And then Abu Bakr said, Tibta hayyan wa mayyitan ya Rasulullah. Oh Prophet of Allah, there are some people that are handsome when they're young. Some are handsome in their teens. Others are beautiful when they mature. But The best you can say about someone is that he's handsome while he's living. You're the only one who's handsome when you are alive and equally after you have taken your last breath. طبت حيا وميتا فلو أن رب العرش أبقاك بيننا سعدنا ولكن أمره كان ماضيا. Safiya radiallahu anha, the aunt of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, said, "Oh my Lord, we all are ready to give our life and claim our soul so that the life of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam can be extended. But then destiny doesn't allow that. Fate doesn't allow that. Taqdeer doesn't allow that. When your time has lapsed, it has lapsed. The Quran says, لا يستأخرون ساعة ولا يستقدمون. So to mention that ayah that I was saying, and that's the beauty of the Quran, we need to appreciate the wholesome nature that Allah has given us. Our deen is complete. Our deen is wholesome. We need to value it. We need to embrace it. And we need to say this with conviction. Ala basira, not with any form of hesitation or reservation or apprehension. So Allah speaks of the pious, and from there I digress, but I'm sure all these points are of relevance to myself and to my young girls and to the staff complement and to the brothers seated here as well. Somebody came to Abu Hazim and he asked him for advice. And Abu Hazim said, إن كنت من أهل الاستجابة فقد قلت لك ما فيه الكفاية. Brother, if you're a person who heeds advice, then adequate has been conveyed to you. And if you're a person who don't heed advice, then why must I empty my entire quiver and release arrow upon arrow when I'm not hitting target? He said, no, give me more advice. Zidna min maw'ibatik. Zidna. He says, okay, another arrow. Oh, miss. Another one. Oh, miss. You want me to empty my entire bow and arrow when I'm not hitting target? And if you're a person who heeds, then adequate has been said. In English, they say the graveyard is a silent place with a loud message. It's a silent place. You don't need to be, nobody needs to speak to you. If you're just there, the graves are talking to you, the disease are talking to you. One of my scholars used to say, probably you need to put a board at the entrance of each graveyard. كَمْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ كَمْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ وزروع ومقام كريم ونعمة كانوا فيها فاكهين كذلك 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 وأورثناها قوما آخرين. How many orchards they left behind, meaning the occupants of the cemetery. How many orchards, farms, buildings, rivers, palaces, palatial homes they left behind. The reference is to the people of Pharaoh. But extend the implications, it applies to every person. It applies to every person. Kadalik, that's the rhythm of life. That's the pattern of life. وَأَوْرَثْنَاهَا قَوْمًا آخَرِينَ. Somebody else comes, inherits, and he takes on. And then there's no trace. كُلُّ دَارٍ وَإِنْ طَالَتْ سَلَامَتُهَا يَوْمًا سَتُدْرِكُهَا النَّكْبَاءُ وَالْحُوَبُ. Every home, every abode, every palace, every location, regardless of how prolonged its buzz, its happiness, its joy, its excitement is. You know this was the main office. This is where this man sat in the morning. This is where he would dispatch. This is where the fleet would come. And now you go there, it's dry. There isn't a soul. The Quran says, you won't even get a whisper. هَلْ تُحِسُّ مِنْهُمْ مِنْ أَحَدٍ أَوْ تَسْمَعُ لَهُمْ رِكْزًا. Gone, wiped out, nothing to remain, everything left. بئر معطلة وقصر مشيد. That's the phrase of the Quran. Wells at which thousands would converge, today they neglected. قصر مشيد, palatial palaces, nobody wants to enter it. لا يسكنها إلا البوم. Probably an animal would get in, or owl would occupy it. It would be haunted and deserted. So every home, regardless of how prolonged its prosperity is, one day sadness will inevitably grip it. We need to ask ourselves, so much happening around us. What is our concentration? Talk of attention deficit disorder. And it's all terminologies. How long is our spiritual span? Ask yourself that. Leave the concentration span and everything. How long can we sustain spirituality? We attend a funeral, it gives us a wake-up call. One of my scholars used to mention, he said our analogy is like at the time of Eid. So you go and you grab a particular sheep, and now you're taking it to slaughter and you're going to drop it down. And here again the teachings of Islam, look at the beauty. You know, if we exhibit the teachings of Islam, Nobody could ever lay a finger at us. Am I told my time is over? Okay, no worries. Jazakallah khair. There is still time, relax. The teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. What's the teachings? When we slaughter an animal, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَتَبَ الْإِحْسَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah has ordained gentleness, kindness, softness to everything. To the extent, even if the nature of your engagement is crude by definition, even that has to be governed by gentleness. So what are we talking? The Prophet ﷺ said, even if you're in battle and you fighting, battle by itself is crude. You're slaughtering. It's an act of slitting the throat of an animal. Even there it has to be regulated, governed and monitored by softness and gentleness. فَإِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذِّبْحَ. When you slaughter, be gentle. Sharpen the knife. Relax the animal. Be swift in it. He seen a Sahabi and he was sharpening the knife and he said, تُرِيدُ أَن تُمِيتَهَا مَوْتَاتٍ. How many times do you want to kill this animal? How many times do you want to kill this animal? I often say, where the Prophet ﷺ's hadith, he mentioned, psychology ends where the Prophet ﷺ's elementary advisors are. What the Prophet ﷺ gave us in the beginning, psychology's greatest point, its end result, cannot match the beginning steps and the initial and the elementary advisors of the Prophet ﷺ. In the time of Sahaba, they practiced psychology, they practiced therapy, they practiced everything. It was just that it was not captured as an art. It was not captured as a skill. There wasn't a dedicated person to do it. The Messenger ﷺ said, when you visit a sick person, the narration of Tirmidhi, فَنَفِّسُوا لَهُ فِي أَجَلِهِ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَا يَرُدُّ شَيْئًا وَيَطِيبُ فِيهِ نَفْسًا. Then boost his morale, motivate his spirit, comfort his pain. Why? Your نَفِّسُوا لَهُ فِي أَجَلِهِ, the verbatim translation, give him hope in life. For verily your words of encouragement will not prolong his life, but will leave him energized and motivated. Look at the richness of the teachings. The man's going to look for 2 days or 3 days, but you're adding flavor to that last 48 hours. So and so came, he said, I'm looking good. He said, I'm looking spirited. He said, I'm looking in gear. He said, we're going to play again. Oh, he left me good. Let's eat something. Let's talk. So you add in value. Now look at the psychology. The Prophet ﷺ said, at the same time, it's not going to change his destiny, because what Allah has decreed, he will die at his time. But you are boosting the morale of a person. And we can speak on so many other elements in the life of the Messenger ﷺ. And I was speaking about this here, and there's 1 or 2 other points that we want to tie up on as well here. And that is, so this analogy, you grab the animal and then you bring it and you're about to slaughter it. And when you take the one animal out, and then the other sheep and the flock, they get a bit dazzled and perplexed and uneasy and they get stressed, then what's happening? One out here, momentarily they stop grazing. They just look, eyes fixed. What's happening? The sheep goes, you close the door, little time passes, they relax. They say, no, it's alright, we're safe. They start grazing. 15 minutes pass, somebody comes in again. Again they go into panic mode. They withdraw. They become anxious. They become uneasy. Whose number is it? Each one ducks for cover. You grab one, the same procedure is repeated. But you know and I know and we all know that before Zawad Salah we need to empty them all out. And it's going to be at the butchery because lunch is going to be served after Zohar. It's just a matter of time. My brother, that's my condition and that's your condition, my sister. So we're sitting in our home soft, pampered, cushioned. And then the angel of death interrupts and he just snatches someone. That's what the Arabic poet said. إِنَّ الْحَبِيبَ مِنَ الْأَحْبَابِ مُخْتَلَسُ لَا يَمْنَعُ الْمَوْتَ بَوَّابٌ وَلَا حَرَسُ فَكَيْفَ تَفْرَحُ بِالدُّنْيَا وَزِينَتِهَا مَنْ يُعَدُّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّفْظُ وَالنَّفَسُ قَدْ كَانَ قَصْرُكَ ذَا شَرَفٍ فَقَبْرُكَ فِي الْأَجْدَاثِ مُنْجَرِدُ لَا يَتْرُكُ الْمَوْتُ ذَا جَاهٍ لِعِزَّتِهِ وَلَلَّذِي مِنْهُ الْعِلْمُ يُقْتَبَسُ. The angel of death comes barging. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. Allah uses 2 different phrases in releasing the soul. One is of a disbeliever and one is of a pious person. One is Allah says He gets deep into him. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. and then removes the soul forcefully. أخرجوا أنفسكم أخرجوا أنفسكم اليوم تجزون عذاب الهون. While the pious, Allah says their soul, how it's removed, is just like unleashing, untying a knot. You just open the cage. You don't have to take the bird out. The bird knows what it needs to do. That's how the soul of the pious are opened up. You just untie it and the soul just flies out. The soul just flies out. So, that's our condition. The angel of death comes, picks up one and he goes for a little while. We said, hey, this Saturday I'm not coming movies. Why? No, there's a funeral in the family. Hey, you know what? I'm not coming. I'm not going to be watching the match. I'm not coming for the comedy show. I'm not going for the carnival. I'm not attending this. I'm not, no. You know what? It's a period of time. It's mourning. It's sadness. We need to sympathize. So what happened? Someone was pulled out of the crowd. Understand my analogy. And for a little while my gaze is also fixed and I'm also, you know what, watching over my shoulder and disciplining myself and getting my act together. But then after a little while I said, no, it's time to start grazing now. It's time to graze again. It's time to indulge, relax. You can't be so dry. Life needs to be a bit of banter and humor. It needs to be exciting. So, my time is running out and I'm flooded with thoughts, but I hope that we are, learning rich lessons from the Quran and Sunnah. Our deen is beautiful. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu used to say, and I don't have an iota or a fraction of an iota of the knowledge of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, and I can identify with these sentiments. Can you imagine when he said it, how profound it was? He said, إِنِّي لَآتِي عَلَى الْآيَةِ فَأَوَدُّ لَوْ أَنَّ النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا عَلِمُوا مِثْلَ الَّذِي أَعْلَمُ. I will study a verse of the Quran, and I would be engrossed in the commentary of that verse, and I would be consumed by this verse. And then I would just wish, I wish the whole world can leave what they have and come and join me and understand the Quran like how I'm understanding it. Imam Shafi said, سهري بتنقيح العلوم ألذ لي من وصل غانية وطيب عناقي. And this was not an exaggeration. He said, for me to stay awake at night and study Quran and understand it, it gives me a greater thrill, a fantasy, an accomplishment, a feeling, than to embrace a most beautiful woman at the most exotic location. Can you imagine that? Ask a young man, he's chit-chatting, social media, he's chatting with a girl, and it's all hidden under a pretext of the most handsome boy or the most handsome girl, and hours can run by and you have no clue and time is short, and you're getting to know one another and you're feeling excited about it. There was a youngster who had come to me, and I say this to my sisters because the social media has paralyzed the world. The devil just wants us to do the opposite. It's just, you have this crave and this itch and this passion. And it's not, I need this or I need that. In essence, I need to disobey Allah. That's it. Study it. Just look at the pattern. So the Messenger ﷺ told the male, مَا أَسْفَلَ مِنَ الْكَعْبَيْنِ فَفِي النَّارِ. The trouser or the garment from the top that dangles below your ankle is in hell. That's the hadith of the Messenger ﷺ. That's what he said to the male. Now, what the male is told, that if you raise your trouser above your ankle, it's not cool, it's not keeping well. There was one scholar, he passed away, may Allah preserve him and grant him Jannah, and may Allah reward him. He said, one day I was walking and my trouser was mid-calf, and that's the, ideal. The Prophet ﷺ paid tribute to Khuraym Asadi. لَوْلَا طُولُ جُمَّتِهِ وَإِسْبَالُ إِزَارِهِ. He said, Khuraym Asadi, he's so amazing. Just two issues about him. That hair is too long and that trouser is too low. Understand this here. Understand this carefully. What did he say is so amazing, just two things. If I look in my life, probably two things would be right. I was just reading now on Riyah Qaisi. He was a great scholar. He was a sage of the age. He said, كَانَ لِي نِيفٌ وَأَرْبَعُونَ ذَنْبًا. I studied my life and I looked at myself and I realized I had about 40 odd sins in my life. وَقَدْ اسْتَغْفَرْتُ اللَّهَ لِكُلِّ ذَنْبٍ 100,000 مرة. And Alhamdulillah, I have asked Allah forgiveness for every sin of this 100,000 times. Now reverse the scenario. When I was reading this is what appeared to my mind. If I look in my life, safely I can tell you I have 100,000 sins, and I haven't asked forgiveness 40 times for one. I don't want to speak on your behalf, I'm speaking on my own behalf. He said, I have 40 odd sins, And I've asked Allah forgiveness 100,000 times. The hadith, the narration is in Hayat al-Sahaba in Bab al-Mawa'iz, where Huzaifa ibn Yaman said, the time is going to be so bleak, so challenging, the trials are going to be so much. لا ينجو أحد إلا من يدعو كدعاء الغريب. None will be rescued from the trials of that period like the one who begs Allah, like how a drowning person begs. Ya Allah, save my son. He's going on a Saturday night. Ya Allah, save my daughter. She's saying she's going with her friends. And I speak with the cap of being the father of adolescent kids. So I'm not speaking in any capacity where I'm oblivious or I'm not cognizant of what's happening. The other day I gave a talk and I came out and I said, I speak with the cap of the father of 3 teenagers. So brother came to me and said, no Sheikh, you don't qualify to be the father of 3 teenagers. But what do you mean I don't qualify? I've got 3 kids. He said, your hair is not white. I said, maybe their mother gave you that white hair, I don't know. You can decide for yourself. What are we saying? كَانَ لِي نِيفُ وَأَرْبَعُونَ. I had 40 odd sins and how much I repented. So today on social media, we get so consumed and we get so taken aback by this year, we lose the focus, we lose the essence. Well, what am I doing? What has happened to my time? So to speak about that ayah and then to just try and bring it to a culmination, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the pious, and that was from when we started, يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, that those who carry the message of deen, they are humble in their walk. وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا اصْرِفْ عَنَّا عَذَابَ جَهَنَّمَ إِنَّ عَذَابَهَا كَانَ غَرَامًا إِنَّهَا سَاءَتْ مُسْتَقَرًّا وَمُقَامًا. In that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the pious are those لَا يَشْهَدُونَ الزُّورِ. There are 2 commentaries to this ayah. I'm just going to speak on one. They don't attend evil gatherings. A believer, he doesn't attend an evil gathering. Whenever I sin or you sin, momentarily we've become oblivious of death. Otherwise a believer cannot consciously enter a casino, a club, a pub, indulge in fornication and haram, knowing very well that Allah is watching me and I'm going to die. It's for the moment. The person is indulging. He said, but aren't you diabetic? He said, someone said, I follow the Muslim diet. He said, what's it? You eat everything and ask Allah to make you lose weight. So I follow the Muslim diet. So a person who's got diabetes, he forgot about his diabetic state. There's a good friend of mine. He said, I don't understand people. I said, what do you mean? He said, I offer them chocolates. I said, I'm selling chocolates, this nice, exclusive, Lind, Ferrero, up-class food. He said, yeah, I would have supported you, but diabetic. Please, man, understand with me my condition. So I tell him, no problem, he's on the house. He's on the house. He said, the man pops it. Now I'm like, what happened to your diabetes? Then I realized his pocket got diabetes more than his body. It's like, brother, no, I would have supported you, but my medical condition. I said, listen, relax, you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay. May Allah make us among those who can spend, brothers. Spend. Don't be those who hold. يَقْبِضُونَ أَيْدِيَهُمْ. That's the attribute of a munafiq, he holds. If there's one quality, I met a brother in Toronto now, elderly, old, aged, frail man. MashaAllah, well attired. He said, Shaykh, my life was a life of sin, vice, transgression. I don't know if I'll meet you again. In 2 words, tell me something I can do quickly that can expedite my growth, that can give me a good advancement. I only had 30 seconds, I had my host behind me, I had other people around me, so I had to say something and I was ushered out. And Allah put this thought in my mind, and I can say this safely from the text of Quran and Sunnah. I said, if there's one thing that can earn you quick forgiveness, it's generosity. If there's one thing, in fact, there are narrations that suggest that a disbeliever, an infidel in hell, will be subjected to eternity due to disbelief, but his generosity will bring marginal reduction to his torment. His generosity in the world, because of what he was generous, it will bring a drop down to him in his punishment. وإن كثرت عيوبك في البرايا وسرك أن يكون لها غطاء تستر بالسخاء تستر بالسخاء فكل عيب يغطيه كما قيل السخاء. وإن كثرت عيوبك, if you have too much wrong and faults and mistakes and you really want Allah to conceal you in this world and in akhirah, Muhammad bin Idris al-Shafi'i said, make your hand generous, make your hand loose and spend. Just spend and contribute. Whatever Allah has given you, spend and spend. And the rewards of that are multiple. So may Allah make us amongst those people that our hands are open and generous, we can spend. Abu Zayd said that I was making tawaf. And then a youngster nudged me. And he said, Uncle, can I quiz you? And I said, go for it. مَا تَعُدُّونَ الزُّهْدَ فِيكُمْ. How do you define piety, abstinence? You know, I say this. When we look at the lives of the pious, what consumed their thinking? What consumed their thinking? What goes through my mind? I'm sitting here, my mind is running. I travel often, I'm sitting in the first lounge there in Dubai, and I see this Arab family walking in, husband and wife, 2 kids with 2 nannies. My mind is doing maths here now. 4 first-class tickets flying, you know how many thousands of dollars you're doing. That's how my mind runs. When I see people, you look at this phone, you look at his car, oh, he's up, he's climbed the ladder, he's there on top. Our mind runs on a different level. Abdullah bin Mubarak, Malik bin Dinar says, I was at Hajj, I was sitting in the Kaaba. Millions had converged, I rotated my gaze, I'm looking at them. We would sit and think, if so many people, imagine what each one paid, imagine what the ticket budget must be, imagine what the airlines make, imagine what the agents make. Imagine how much food they consume during, these are how our minds run. And Malik bin Dinar said, I rotated my gaze, I said, Allah, what a beautiful sight. And man minhum sa'id fa'uhannibuhu, wa man minhum mardud fa'u'azzihi. I just wonder from these millions, how many of them are walking around with the accepted Hajj, and how many of them with the rejected Hajj? Look at their mind. Look at their mind. Where my mind, mine is maths, mine is money, mine is running at a different level. So I went to sleep. And in the dream I was told everybody's Hajj is accepted but one person. So I was happy to know that, mashallah, the bulk are walking away accepted but one is rejected. And obviously I feared that I will be the exception. So I went into greater panic. I was uneasy, I was anxious. Why? That night I slept, I was told in a dream that the exception is not you, but it is a person from this tribe with this identity and this location. So I was relieved that I was not denied one, but at the same time I was concerned for the individual implied in my vision and dream. Be it as it may, I got up in the morning, I started making my way, and finally I came to a tribe in this camp, in this place. I said, is you people from Gulf? He said, yes, there's a person by the name of Harun. Absolutely. Is he here? Precisely. Can you just take me in? By all means. They walk me through and I find the man there performing prayer. I come up close to him. I said, can I have some time with you? Oh, go for it. He says, well, I don't have good news and I don't know how to break this news to you. I says, no, Malik, go for it and tell me, you're a pious man, and tell me what you need to tell me. He said, I'm sorry to inform you, if a person has to break news of cancer, you have to break news of tragedy, break news of death. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. And here again, we are taught in Islam to be respectful, to be euphemistic, to use the right phrase. There must be euphemism in the manner in which you communicate it. You've got to drop it down, you've got to be gentle. Sometimes we apply euphemism in the wrong place. I was in London, and then I picked up the paper, it was at my hotel room. So they said that now, you know what, obesity is killing the world. And one of the reasons why obesity is killing the world is because we hide in behind euphemistic terminologies. We need to start telling people you're fat. I'm not saying, I'm quoting the article, I'm paraphrasing. Like plain semantics, plain with words. 1 minute it's this, 1 minute it's that. So they said that obesity is a threat to the world and it's killing the world and it's causing chaos in the world. I just mentioned last week at the talk, I landed and I'm sitting and I'm quite exhausted, and here a man is walking and he's really big and round and he has this t-shirt and on that boldly printed, I'm not fat, I'm just fluffy. I'm just fluffy. I said, okay, good luck my brother. And then another gentleman passes by and he's like, don't disturb me, I'm married, sufficiently disturbed. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said, my sister, when a woman annoys her husband, then his damsel in paradise says, don't hurt him, because soon he'll leave you and he'll come to us. I can hear a loud alarm from the men's side here. No, but obviously he needs to look after you as well, my sister. And the Prophet ﷺ said, the best amongst you. What is the benchmark to excellency? What is the yardstick to excellency? He displayed excellency in all spheres of life. But he said the yardstick is if your wife considers you to be good, then you're a good man. خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ. And I don't make a claim only, I've delivered on that claim. I'm the best to all my wives. I am the best. The only human in the annals of history that you can pick up his private or public life and you can go open with it. There's nothing to hide. My wife says, you know, if I tell people about you, then I say, yeah, I also know about you. So you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Yeah, if you want to throw out dirty linen, I can also throw dirty linen. So just go slow. So that's how we both are holding. But we know the skeletons. But Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, oh my word, there's nothing you can get him off guard. Everything of his is shining. It's pure and pristine. It's wholesome. How he dealt when he was intimate with his spouse, Aisha radiyallahu anha, or any other spouse. The Prophet ﷺ's life was amazing and it was wholesome. Anyway, to mention this and wrap up. So Malik bin Dinar says, I said, listen, I haven't got good news, my brother. I had a dream and in that I was told everybody's Hajj but one person. And then I thought probably it was me. And subsequently I was told that I'm not the one. But apparently it was a person with this identity and I have been referred to. So very gentle, euphemistic, polite and sensitive. And we need to learn to communicate things in a sensitive way. Sensitivity is important. I had two sisters that came home and she said, I have a request to you. I communicated it via my wife and I said, that's fine. And in my talks I give it all the time. And maybe I have another thought, I'm going to share this as well. Because often I get feedback at the talk that I gave at one place and the recording travels elsewhere. So it's all in the hands of Allah. So she said that we are married for a long period of time and Allah willing we don't have kids. And we've made peace with the decree of Allah. But society is so insensitive to us. So we've actually had to form a club of childless couples. Because we are ostracized, we marginalized, people make comments, or what's wrong, go to a doctor. Listen, leave me through my private life. I know what I need to do. And I'm grappling, I'm battling, I'm trying, my husband, it's in the hands of Allah. And I've made peace with it. But people are so insensitive. And we've actually had to shy away from events. Now, can you imagine? That's not the teachings of a believer. A believer never ever uses these type of terminologies. As bin Wa'il was the person who made the derogatory reference to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, oh Muhammad, you don't have any male offspring, you're a man of girls only, tough luck, no boys for you. And it hurt the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he used the word abtar. And abtar, grammatically, linguistically, it means an animal, the tail of which is severed. So an animal, the tail that you chop off, so the implications were like your progeny won't prosper, your tail is chopped off, there's no male offspring to take your name forward. And I was booking a flight from Kulula and they were giving you, general updates. Did you know the most common name in the world? Muhammad. What you told me and what you have to agree with. General information, and back in the days I often say when we were kids and you open up a wrapper or a chocolate, you had some nice general information. And I used to consciously read it every time you want to munch on a gum, you open up and you hear some nice facts, medical, scientific. Now it's all about sports. It's all about sports, who won, who lost. And these things don't intrigue me. So Allah revealed the verse and Allah said, Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Oh Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we've given you Kawthar. Al-Bahr al-Muhit, the tafsir, Kawthar has 26 opinions. That's what we've given you. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ, perform prayer, wanhar, slaughter the animals. إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ, the one who despises you, his tail will be chopped off. We need to be sensitive, my sister. There's a family that I know of, a young girl who's unfortunately been divorced, and she has a little child. And again, the stigma in society, a taboo in society, not to embrace someone with a child. I gave a talk in North America. It was a large audience of 25,000 people. And I spoke about the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which the Messenger ﷺ said, get married to a woman who was single and a spinster and was not previously married. That's the hadith, عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْأَبْكَارِ فَإِنَّهُنَّ أَعْضَبُ أَفْوَاهَا وَأَنْتَقُ أَرْحَامَهَا وَأَرْضَى بِالْيَسِيرِ. And as I got off and I realized the sensitivity of what I said, and the sister came forward and tears had welled up in her eyes. And she said, surely the Prophet has said this, I believe, and I don't doubt the veracity of that statement. But I am divorced. Did he not encourage the wedding of divorced girls? And instantly I told her, I said, sister, while that is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and he only married one woman that was unmarried, everybody else that he married was previously married with children as well. And she said, Sheikh, you've comforted my heart, and you've taken the tears of pain to the tears of joy. So these are taboos, these are stigmas. We need to rise beyond that. Our deen is complete. We need to be sensitive how we speak to people, what we speak to people. We don't just ask things to people and hurt them. إِنَّ الْعَبْدَ لَيَتَكَلَّمُ بِالْكَلِمَةِ مِنْ سَخَطِ اللَّهِ. Sometimes you make a comment and a remark and you offend the person. And the Messenger ﷺ says, you don't think much of it. لَا يُلْقِي بِهَا بَالًا. It's alright, I just told him. Somebody needs to tell him, but you touch a sensitive nerve, you've offended him. He's battling, he's grappling with something. Oh, you're still sick? Oh, okay. So nothing, no luck. Still driving the same car? Oh, nice, good. Alright. Yeah, don't worry, one day you'll come right. Is that how we talk? Is that how we talk? يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. Wherever Allah gives us an injunction, Allah tells us how to achieve it. Oh, you who believe, fear Allah. Allah, how must we fear you? وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. Prepare for tomorrow. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. Oh, you who believe, fear Allah. Allah, how must we fear you? وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. Learn to speak the kind words. Learn to say the correct word. On social media point, I just mentioned this here. It's important in social media as well when we speak. We've lost the etiquettes of speech. People talk unclear, vague, ambiguous, abbreviation. Talk clean. Is a thumbs up, is a thumbs down, is a sign this way, is an icon there. The Prophet ﷺ was very explicit in speech. He wasn't implicit. Somebody knocked on the door, Anna. He said, what me? Say who your name is. حَتَّى تَسْتَأْنِسُوا وَتُسَلِّمُوا. So often, due to the intense use of social media, we've lost the grip of communication. Table manners, communication manners is like out of the window. It's gone out. As Muslims, our choice of words, our communication, our respect, our engagement, an elderly, a middle class, a young child, a male, a female, all these are etiquettes that govern our life. To conclude on this note, because my time has really now lapsed and I've gone way over my time, and I appreciate your patience. And mashallah, the brothers are just so focused, may Allah reward you handsomely. So he addresses the message with this person and he says, listen, I'm afraid that I was told in a dream that your hajj is rejected. He said, it's not the first time I've been told this, so it's not news to me, probably news to you. The brutal truth, the harsh reality is, this has been a vision that has been seen by a pious person year in and year out. And this dates back to my youth. I was a young boy. It was the last night of Sha'ban. It was the night of Ramadan. And I came home and I was drunk, I was high, I had popped my pills, I had taken my alcohol, and I was in my own world. And my mom said to me, يُصْبِحُ النَّاسُ صُوَّامًا وَتُصْبِحُ سَكْرَانًا أَمَا تَسْتَحِي مِنَ اللَّهِ. Oh my son, people are changing their lives, they're closing their chapter, they're embracing Ramadan. The most sinful of people are making tawbah, and on this night, look at your state. And I was so high, and I didn't have my balance and my composure, and Allah forgive me, I raised my hand and I flogged my mom. I slapped my mom, and my mom backed up, fell down, and she passed out. And it's been that day and this day, every year I'm told, tough luck, your hajj not accepted. But the truth is, I have no other place to go. I come back here begging Allah with the hope that my mom's soul will forgive me. My mom's soul will pardon me. And one day, Allah's mercy will get the better of me and there would be some hope and rescue and amnesty for me. So the point that I was saying is, look at the pious where their minds evolve, where their minds run, and what a big lesson for us, what a big lesson. My honorable mom always says this. She says, if you speak of parenting, you exclude some people from your audience. He's not married or he doesn't have kids. But when you speak of obligation to parents, nobody is excluded, because everybody who's on the earth has parents, whether alive or dead. If I speak on parenting, and like nowadays they say the demographics are so different, I read an article, they say if you want to do a workshop on parenting, it might be in your interest to call grandparents more than parents. Because they have become the caregivers. They've become the caregivers, so that's the world. You know, marriage breaks up once, twice, they move on, but the old folks, that's my blood, that's my value, I'll hold on, I'll cling on, my flesh, my blood, my value system, etc. So, if you speak on parenting, and it's a topic of its own, and we grappling, and we learn, and we try, and we speak, and we encourage our youth, you exclude some, you include some. But when it comes to kindness to parents and duty to parents, nobody is excluded because our duty continues. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this institution. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward the well-wishers and the donors and all those that are connected to this event. And I believe that our young girl will be completing the Quran, and then we will conclude on a dua. I'm grateful to the opportunity, and I would like to thank the staff, the management, and those that coordinated my quick, short, brief visit here today. And I hope and I pray and I wish and I'm optimistic from my Creator that these words would not go unheard, and they would not go without impacting on my life and your life, because that's the reason why we've come here. It's not my words. Kalamul muluki mulukul kalam, that's the Arabic proverb. The speech of the king is the king of speeches. The speech of the king, and that's the speech of Allah. فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah poses the question, if my words can't penetrate your heart, then whose words are going to penetrate your heart? And really it's not late. It's not late to you, my brother. I was in London attending a program. Again, I share these experiences to motivate people, for nothing else. So prior to my talk, an elderly man, 60 odd, recites the Quran. So I'm intrigued by the old age man, but I don't ask too much. The next day I have another program in London, and so generally it's a young boy from the youth class or someone who graduated, he's called on, and the young learner, 8, 9, 10, and he reads the Quran. And alhamdulillah, we've seen young kids, traveling, memorizing the Quran at 5, 6. I've seen in North America myself, a 6-year-old child brought to me and memorized the Quran. 6-year-old child. I asked the parents, what's the formula? They said, when my wife conceived, we decided we're taking the devil box out of the house. And we took the bold step, and the environment was clean and pure, and our child memorized the Quran. So the next day I go to South London, where I'm having the program again, and here this man comes and he recites the Quran again. So I asked the host, explain this whole, what's this all about? He said, this man of Pakistani descent, British national, at the age of 60 decided to commence hymns. And with the grace of Allah, he's memorized 15 juz of the Quran. Then 2-3 years later I go back, it's in the back of my mind, I want to meet the old man. I said, where's this man, can I meet up with him? He said, yes. So we meet up with him. I said, uncle, how far now? He says, 27 juz. There we go, my brother. Our time goes in all other things here, our Quran, and really, many couples, many professionals have asked me. I used to conduct a discourse for, the young academics. So now I want to study Deen. I'm 35, I'm 36. If I start now, when will I end? I said, that's the problem. We're not studying to end. We don't want a diploma. We don't want a master's degree. We don't want a BA. We don't want anything. We want to be engaged in learning Deen and conveying Deen, and that Allah is pleased with us. I'm not out for a position or a podium or a platform or an accolade or an achievement or a graduation. I am engaged in Deen. Man ja'ahu al-mawt wa huwa yatlubu al-'ilm liyuhyi bihi al-Islam. He who dies or she who dies while engaged in the acquisition of the sciences of Deen will rank one below the prophets in the day of Qiyamah. May Allah grant us the tawfiq. Wa sallallahu wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.